David, taking a walk here in Minneapolis.
Minneapolis.
Yeah, okay.
I'm like, yeah, that's.
No, probably not. Well,
So
yes,
maybe go.
just look forward.
There's a lot of stuff to do. Yeah. Try to get seat ticket to the Twins.
Okay, it is 5:30 PM on Tuesday, October 25th, 2022. I'm calling this regular town board meeting of the town of La Pointe to order. I'll call roll. Mike Anderson.
Here.
Amy Baxter.
Here.
Susan Brennan.
Here.
John Carlson.
Here.
And Glenn Carlson here. We also have our elected town clerk, Michaela Montaigne, our town administrator, Michael Kuta, and our public works director, Ben Schramm. And we will move on to public comment A. Is there any public comment? Michaela?
I have two. The first one is to the town board from Mike Stark. The residents of La Pointe elected me to represent them on the county board. They elected you to manage the town. It makes sense that you include me in your discussions to propose a solution from the county for law enforcement for the town. There is no conflict of interest in including me in your proposal process. You have multiple meetings next week when a closed session discussion of the proposal could be held. Multiple county board members are also town supervisors in their towns. Thank you. And a second public comment from Katie Sanders of the Affordable Housing Committee. To the town of La Pointe Town Board, the Island Association is in the process of reviewing a grant request by the Affordable Housing Advisory Committee to help fund a contract with Maxwell Consulting. The Island Association may fund up to $4,000 if the town is willing to match funding. We want you to be aware of this offer in advance of setting budgets for the next fiscal year.
Any others?
Watch out for John Bird.
Yeah.
I think it was after Chickadee.
It looked okay though.
Oh, yeah, it's okay. It's still sitting there.
Oh.
Bleeding, I think.
Okay. Moving on. And it's only because that's not on the agenda.
Okay.
So everyone's aware. Administrative reports, item A, town administrators report. Does anyone have any questions or comments for Michael?
I've got a question.
Go with John.
Hey Michael, are you keeping track of the hours or the time you were spending with Michael Childers? Because I think we can recoup your costs from the Harbor Commission.
I have not.
I would suggest that you do, because that is a separate entity, like the library and the sanitary district. And we can recoup your time from them.
I can certainly do that if that's.
I think that was certainly my understanding of
Right.
what was gonna happen. So
Okay.
I think that's,
And
Yeah.
Michaela, if you are
Yeah.
answering emails right now, if you,
Well, I'm
That's a
doing
lot.
their minutes right now because they don't have a secretary,
Right.
but I'm not paid off.
you're a different.
Right.
situation.
sure, but I would just.
Yeah, and it is because you're an elected town
Official, right.
officer that is paid, a
Right,
monthly fixed amount, and, now, if they decided, to hire you as a separate thing altogether, that's a different story.
right, no, I just,
But, yeah, no, I think any town employee,
And if I can ask for clarification, do you want me to just track discussions with them or any time I spend? For example, we need to set up emails.
I guess
For
that's,
commissioners, so there's been some back and forth with their technology people, with vendors, that kind of thing.
well, that would be time also, because it's taking, to me, it's taking your time away from the town's.
Well, it's town business.
Well, no, it's not, because it's the commission, and the commission's
We
different.
were appointed by the town chairman. We ratified them.
yeah, I think that, John, you've got a really good point, and I think that we should try to capture all the time that any town employee spends on Harbor Commission matters. If it is something that is let's say both a harbor commission and a town matter,
Sure.
okay, that's kind of a little gray area, and I think that I'd be comfortable them using their discretion on that, but where it's something that is strictly for the benefit of the harbor commission, I think that
Yes,
the person should charge their time.
but Michael doesn't sit in our meetings or nothing. He doesn't come to our meetings.
No, so,
So
but,
I mean,
No, it just says on the back here that, he's, helping Michael Childers, information and stuff like that.
but setting up emails, we have to have that done. I mean, I don't know how
we'll
you
put
can
that,
charge.
we'll put that in the gray area, that I think that's more discretionary.
Oh, that's fine.
But I think in general,
Emails.
does that give you enough guidance?
So, I mean, that means basically the office staff, anytime they spend,
That is, for the benefit of the harbor commission.
Right.
And not necessarily for, let's say, clarifying a relationship between the harbor commission and the town, right? I mean,
Right, if they work
Does it-
hard to run a report or something
right,
like that.
or even discussing how things are gonna work out between the two entities. I think those are not recoverable costs, right? Because they're each representing their own, so, but I think if things are really exclusively for the benefit of the harbor commission, they should be charged for town time, and if it's, for mutual benefit, and direct mutual benefit, I think, it won't be, and anything that's in between will leave to your discretion. Does that seem reasonable to everyone?
Sounds reasonable to me.
Any other comments or questions on Michael's report? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to Public Works. Road, Stock, and Harbor, 1, award gravel bid to Nelson Construction. And we got the bid last week, and I didn't see anything specific on the awarding of them.
So we
That's just
need
a-
to, like a motion to, accept the
Okay.
How much was it?
$30,340. And the, bid that Nelson Construction sent, it has a sign, on the bottom, accepted by Ben Tran as the
Oh.
public works director. So if in the motion, you wanna allow Ben to sign it or something like that.
Sure.
that's fine.
And we also though have the separate purchase
And you have a
agreement.
and then that's a separate contract.
Yeah. And just, this is minor, but, the word in the heading, construction.
Construction. We can change that here, if you want some of the sign page.
Okay, is there a motion to award the gravel bid to Nelson Construction?
I make a motion that we accept the ground bid for Motion Construction for $32,340 that has been signing the contract.
Just the bid.
The bid.
Oh, second.
Moved and seconded, any discussion? Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Right, okay, so the next item is approval of the contract with Nelson Construction for the gravel. And that is, I think I signed that.
Yep.
And so do we have a motion on that?
I'll make a motion that the town board chair sign the contract with Nelson Construction.
Moved and seconded, any discussion? All in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item 3B1, change order number 3 with Angelo Lupino for contract removal for plumbing. And why I thought we had this conversation already, I don't
We
know.
had a
We
lot
did.
of things.
Well, this came with our paperwork for when the budget meeting.
Okay,
So, yeah. I wasn't
Okay.
really kind of- we kind of-
yeah, okay, so everyone's familiar that this was something that fell through the cracks. All right, is there a motion on change order number 3?
I'll make a motion to approve the change order number 3 for Angelo Lapino for $612 with some discussion.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, discussion?
I'm just wondering how much we've actually paid then for the rec center bathroom since they did all the change orders. You could have maybe a bar and for budget, so we know
Okay.
how much was actually paid, because I know we had a budget with having the public works guys going to do a lot of the work, but since that didn't happen,
Good question, John. Okay. Any other discussion, any other questions? Okay. And I assume you guys will take care of that. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 3C1, contract with Gary Needsma for removal of refrigerant.
I didn't see
I
that.
didn't see it.
I don't know.
That needs to be tabled.
Okay, is there a motion to table item 3C1?
I'll make a motion, we table item 3C1.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 4, committees. A, planning and zoning. Anything specific there? No. Item B, committee minutes. Hopefully everyone's received their copies. Does anyone have any questions?
I just have one question, does anybody know what a sound garden is?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
This is the library.
Yeah.
So, there's a possibility of, a weekend sound garden where people would walk through the area, kind of the woods area of the library between, the library, the school, the garden, the parking lot, kind of back there. And as you walk through, there'll be, lots of speakers, little speakers that you won't even really see. And so it's like an experience. You walk through and you'll hear sounds. The artist will record things while he's here and then play them back kind of on a loop so that it's, anyone can walk in at any time.
So it's like a weekend.
It's like an installation piece for a
It'll
weekend.
live there forever.
No, just for a weekend.
For 1 weekend.
That's kind of the plan right now if it goes for it.
Oh, okay.
And is the sound, music or is the sound crickets?
I think it's kind of all of that. Could be even voices,
That
could be
sounds really
songs, yeah.
cool.
Mhm. Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments on the minutes? Okay,
I had a question on public arts.
go ahead.
It's 5B, what are they talking about, beautifying the dock line?
Basically, they dropped that from their plan. I think it's a holdover from the original plans to not only have a passenger shelter and solar bench, and also do work with the pergola. I think they simply look back on projects they had discussed, but it is no longer something that they will be moving forward on, to my understanding.
And that's, because my next question was on the pergola. So is that also kind of tabled for now?
That's my understanding.
Okay.
I mean, as Ben can explain, there are all kinds of technical issues, mechanical issues with doing much with the pergola, so it's beyond their interest right now.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments on the minutes? Do we want to do anything with unanimous consent now? Okay. Moving on, item 4C, the Affordable Housing Advisory Committee has someone else that wants to join them, and that is Gwen Smith Patterson. And so is there a motion to approve Gwen to the Affordable Housing Advisory Committee for a term ending 8/31/2024?
I'll make a motion to approve Gwen Smith Patterson and also a little discussion.
Me too. I'll second.
Okay, moved and seconded, discussion.
So the best group is a group of 8 or less, because once you start getting up, and that's just knowing. And so once you start getting up into a larger group, like, I know we didn't set a cap on this group, but it seems like it's getting to be a pretty big group. And that scares me a little, because sometimes when that happens, it actually slows things down, because it takes longer for a group agreement. So that's just my comment.
No, my exact same thing. Does the committee want more people? Do they think it'll be helpful, or do they think that then they'll be in too many conversations? Have you?
And Michael and I have had this conversation, so I will let you
Sure.
respond.
Their belief at this point is that they will be able to utilize this many people by dividing into work groups to address specific areas that need to be moved simultaneously. So it could be too many right now, but once the housing needs assessment comes in, once they start pursuing some of the other initiatives they know will have to be part of actually building housing, they will need as many hands on deck as they can. So that's, I believe that is their intent.
Okay.
And in the meantime, people can get up to speed. I mean, there have been a number of new folks, but with the needs assessment starting actually this Friday, it will give them a chance for new members to come up to speed, you know, achieve kind of this big picture consensus, and then be able to subdivide the committee into work groups. as
And then
necessary.
how long is there one member that's gone now, it's gone for?
Through the end of the calendar year.
Through, to like the end of December?
Correct.
So I'm assuming that's seated.
It is.
Okay, and thank you, Michael. Any other questions or discussion on that? Okay, hearing none, all in favor of the motion to appoint Gwen Smith Patterson, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Item 4D, Harbor Commission, and this is for us to authorize them to spend the $47,000 that we put into the designated fund for payroll, office expenses, and professional fees, without having to come back to the town board again. So we're looking for a motion.
I make a motion that we authorize the Harbor Commission to spend their designated fund on payroll, office expenses, and professional fees.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion?
So if we run out, well, okay, if Harbor Commission runs out of that, if they spend that 47,000, do they have to come back and get permission again? If we put $50 more $1,000 in that designated fund, do they have to come back and get permission to spend that 50,000?
I mean, at this point, the way I would interpret this is that we're giving them permission to spend their designated funds without coming back to us on these three categories of things, kind of regardless of how much more we put into the designated fund. So if we put another 50,000 in, my intent or my thinking is,
Did I say 47,000? Should I take that out of my motion?
No, I think you just read this. Okay, the 47 was discussed. but I
yeah,
don't think-
yeah, no, so the idea would be, if they come back and say, we need another 50, and it's still those three categories, I don't think that we need to make another motion to give them authority to spend that, if that's your question, Mike.
Okay, because that will be a question.
Yeah, no, that's,
the morning.
yeah, and is everyone in?
Yeah, no, I think that's great, because
Okay.
then that's making them more separate.
And they're supposed to be, I mean, under the state statute. Okay, so it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 5, Town Hall Administration Budget Summary Report. Everyone should have received that. Are there any questions on that? Is there a motion to approve?
I will make a motion to approve the budget summary report dated 10/19/2022.
Is there a second? It has been seconded. Discussion, I just want to add one thing. So what you see is the budget that is actually approved by the town board every year. But underneath that are line items for all of these different, right? Well, yeah, that's not quite the report that Michael and I see, but that has every single line item, as we see in the budget, when we're doing the budget, those same line items, okay? Many of those, well, let me back up. According to Barb, yeah, the real detailed level, but the department heads also see. It's the same one that the department heads see. But apparently there's some requirement that if that you cannot overspend budget item that the town board has approved. So if they've said, here's the budget item, you can't overspend that. And that in years past, according to Barb, the town board approved the detailed line item budgets. And so during that period of time, it was felt that if there were line items that were overspent, that the town board needed to do an amendment, a budget amendment before the end of the year to bring all those back to zero, okay? Right? Well, now that they've gone to just, and this has been, she said, for several years, that we've just adopted the summary budget page as the budget. There's no longer any, unless those go, overspent, then they need to, but there's no reason anymore to have a budget amendment that picks all those things up. I actually brought this up to her today and said, is there, because she's working on this budget amendment, which is gonna be, if she had to include every line item that you see, like looking on the budget thing, right, all the ones that were overspent.
Yeah,
Okay, that's gonna be a separate transaction for her to have to, and it'll be on the budget amendment, all those separate things. I asked her if there's any reason, the auditors require us to do that, to bring them up. No state rule, no, nothing, and it turns out that pretty much Michael and I are the only two people that read this, that get that level of detail, and it's like, well, not only that, but when you do that budget amendment every year to bring those things up to, that you overspent, back to like not being overspent, and then you do the next year's budget, and you see what was the last year's budget after the budget amendments, well, that number is gonna be kind of skewed. It's not gonna be what was, the real budget the prior year. It was like, okay, we're gonna make up.
because it was amended.
Yeah. Okay, so it's kind of two benefits. One, Barb doesn't have to go through and do all of these, transactions. Michael doesn't have to review them and write up, and we don't have to try to understand them all when they're presented. Plus, then, for budget purposes, when we see how much the budget was for line items the following year, we'll know that that was like the true, real budget. They might have had some interim modifications, but those interim modifications had economic substance. I mean, there was, it was not this phony baloney thing at the end of the year to bring everything. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, just wanted to let you know.
And every time you do have a budget summary report on the agenda, I do always have the full packet with me if there were any other questions or you wanted to see more information. And then this is what gets filed in the vault. is the
Okay.
full packet. So-
Good information.
Okay, any other questions on that? We had a motion and a second,
We
and
did.
any other discussion? Okay, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. All right, FEMA grant updates.
Nothing to report at this point outside of the letter that was sent from the Housing Committee.
Got it, thank you. Item 6, vouchers.
I will make a motion to approve the vouchers in the amount of $54,531.25.
Well, second.
Moved and seconded, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Item 7, alternative claims.
I will make a motion to approve the alternative claims in the amount of $173,740.39.
Well, second.
59 cents.
What is it, what do you say?
59 cents. You said 30.
I think I did too. 59 cents.
Moved and seconded, any discussion? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Item 8, treasurer's report. Everyone received that, I believe.
I can never read it.
I'll make a motion that we accept the treasurer's report with the checking account balance of $1,084,570.71. Second.
Moved and seconded, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Item 9, minutes, and I believe we can do these all
Not
together.
the first one, because I have to abstain from the first one.
Okay, so let's do the first one, the regular town board meeting of October 11th, 2022.
I make a motion that we approve the minutes of the regular town board meeting Tuesday, October 11th, 2022.
Second.
Moved and seconded, any discussion? All in favor say aye. Opposed?
Abstain.
And 1 abstention. Next 3 we can do together, if someone would like to make a motion.
I'll make a motion, we approve the special town board meeting minutes from October 17th, 2022. Special town board meeting minutes from October 18th, 2022. Special town board meeting board minutes, October 20th, 22.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded, any discussion? Okay, hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Before we move on, I forgot, there was a, alternative claim in the, originals about the rec center, and it does have like the, not the full total, but their remaining balance, if you wanted to quick look at it, but, and then if you want to pass around the second, I just reminded, sorry. Just before the end of the meeting, it doesn't have to happen immediately.
Well, let's move on. Item 10, emergency services, police department, Ashland County law enforcement agreement. I think there was some question as to whether we had finished the discussion last night and whether there was a desire then to have a brief session tonight. I think there was a question on public effort, if you will. Is that?
Well, I mean, we talked about a number of things in closed session about, public and private negotiation tactics or initiatives. We talked about, whether to pursue legal and administrative remedies. But, I'm not sure whether we talked in full on how to approach the county board meeting of November 15th. So if people have additional thoughts or want to have additional discussion, that is out there as far as I can tell. I think everything else was covered to a point of where we could be at this point.
Okay, so, and I think this is a matter of budget or of negotiations with the county board. So if there's a motion to go into closed session to continue the discussion that we started last night, I would entertain a motion.
Do you want to do that now, or there's anything else you want to do?
Well, okay, how about we have a motion then to move this to the, after public comment B.
I make a motion to move this to after public comment B. This meaning the Ashland County Law Enforcement Agreement.
Okay, for a second.
Second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor, any discussion? Table, or not table, to move to,
Transfer.
thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Okay. So the next item then is to set the date and location for special town meeting to consider law enforcement expenditures. And I had asked for this to be put on so that if the town board had wanted to have another town meeting, special town meeting, before we take final action on the budget and the levy, time is running short for us to do that. And so we maybe don't have to do that necessarily today. It might be that we want to wait to have that meeting with the public until after we know for sure what Ashland County is going to do. And if that's the case, sometime then after November 15th, which would give plenty of time for the 15 days. I mean, we could do that later than today. I mean, we could probably discuss that next Tuesday, perhaps, if that's what we want to do. But we should then think about a date, if we want to set a date. we could do that now. We want to set a date for after the 15th.
But not post for it yet, just in case you wanna not do it.
Yeah, well, I think,
What if we don't connect?
yeah, so I think that's the other thing is, this 15-day notice, right? We won't know when we post whether or not we might have to, whether or not we might call off the meeting. But we still need to post if we're going to attempt to have one. And are there any
Okay.
dates we ought to look at? You have to some
So-
dates.
I'm not sure, I wasn't aware of this until today when we spoke.
Right.
That, so when we were having things in the past, like when we were doing the Zoom meetings and there was like the annual meetings and things where people voted, that was something that was legal to do because of the COVID stuff. Now, in order for them to vote, something like that, they have to be in person.
That was true for the annual town meeting.
Yeah.
I think that's probably true then for the.
And so what my thought was, because this is such a big deal, and there are a lot of people that are actual voters here that don't live here year round. And I know this is probably not gonna make me everybody's favorite person, but I think that we should be looking at the Saturday before Thanksgiving. Because then if there are homeowners that are planning on coming up here for Thanksgiving anyway, they would be able to be in person, and again, they have to be a voter, but there are quite a few of the voters. Glenn's done some research, and there's quite a few that this is their residence that they voted. So my suggestion would be Saturday, the 19th of November.
That's the opening hunting season, but,
Yeah.
well, I mean, it's,
Oh, they're not gonna come then.
well, it's,
So,
a lot of
If
people don't.
if this meeting is to see what the townspeople wanna do about actual budget, should it be needed, the budget has to be posted like, at the latest, I mean, like, the date is November 20th, if you're going to have the budget meeting on December 5th. Which, we say that it has to be posted on the 18th, because that's Friday, because it's the last work day of that, before it actually has to be posted, so you really, if their meeting is on the 15th, and we have to post our budget for approval on the 18th,
Doesn't give us much
there's
time.
not a lot of time.
So it should be on the 16th.
The 16th.
Should be the day after, if, well, the day after we find out if we get the money or not.
Or not.
It should be the day after, so Barb has some.
Yeah.
And this isn't a necessary thing, this is a nice thing, an ask that you all are doing.
It's an information.
You don't have to do this, you can choose to do it.
But I'll be gone for that whole week.
And I'll probably be gone on the 16th.
Yeah.
So none of us will be here, so
Yeah,
good luck.
so, yeah,
I don't know what you
Do we do it before?
We
no,
can't,
We don't know what to tell them.
yeah.
yeah. I mean, it's like, well, if they do this or if they do that. No, thank you.
there's Thursday, the 17th, I mean, hopefully everything else in the budget will be set. You know,
When
we're
was the
just-
Gazette come out?
19.
What if
You
we
know-
just put something in the Gazette that says, please send us your public comments if you really have a strong opinion of. We don't have to have it in person.
Well, if we're trying to get, we'll let everyone participate, is the question. And we have this formal process called a special town meeting where people get to actually vote. And, we could have a special town meeting after we publish the budget, right? Where the townspeople say, resolved that we authorize the town board to spend an additional $135,000 or whatever number we come up with for law enforcement next year, even if it requires them borrowing money. Now, they don't have to authorize us to spend money for law enforcement, okay? And so if they voted no on it, we could still do it. But if they vote yes, then it's like, okay, we really want you to do this. And so is that what, would that be helpful to the town board when we, to actually have that kind of vote? Okay.
Post budget.
Post budget, okay, but after, it might be, and it probably could be before we do the levy vote. And maybe they'll decide, because they can amend the levy, right?
Well, that's what happens at the levy vote, if they vote it down. Then what overrides,
They can do anything that, unless there's a resolution to increase the levy, they can vote on whatever the state allowable is or lower, but not higher.
They can't go higher,
Unless you have a proposed resolution to go
to
higher.
go higher, okay.
And then they can
they
pick
still have
that,
to vote on it.
then they have to take it or leave it though, I think, and I will clarify all of this before we get to that meeting, because I know the one year we got a little screwed up, but I'm pretty sure that if there isn't a resolution to increase the levy, they can say, yes, take it at the state or go lower,
Okay.
but they
Could
cannot
you
go higher.
find this out for us, because I think that's really important to know,
Yeah,
um,
and
as we're doing
I bring it
this.
I bring it to all the budget meetings,
Yeah.
I have it just in.
Yeah, that would be really helpful to know, and so I think probably at this point, we should table this discussion and, let's consider putting this on the agenda, tail end of next Tuesday's meeting. And that would still give us time to.
Would you, do you think you'd be able to have that information
Oh, yeah.
by next Tuesday?
Okay. The
I make a
information
motion.
I'll give it to tomorrow, I won't stay with you. I'll give it to you tomorrow.
Okay.
I'll make a motion that we table item 10-2.
And I'll put it on the,
Second.
on Tuesday's agenda.
Moved and seconded, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item 10B, Fire Department, Memorandum of Understanding with Ashland County for 2023 e-dispatches paging system. So you're looking for a motion for the town board to approve this. Okay, and you know, it's then to approve the fire chief signing it.
That's what you've done in the past.
Okay, so is there a motion to direct the fire chief or authorize the fire chief to sign this memorandum of understanding with Ashland County?
I will make a motion to authorize the fire chief to sign the MOU with Ashland County for dispatch.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item 10C, updates on construction and warranty work at the emergency services building.
No updates.
No updates, okay. Any
So-
other questions?
I got a question, so we don't know what happened to the air compressor that was on the sidewalk? The old,
It was, the project manager approved giving it to a citizen.
nobody told Michael?
He said it was okay, or, Tim said, if I don't come up and get it, why don't you just give it to this person? And he decided to not come up and get it. And just be done with it.
Was that that Tim guy?
Yes.
It would have been nice if somebody at least told Michael about what happened to it, so he could have told us.
Yeah, and, you know, I think that there are some issues when the citizen is a town employee, but maybe we ought to have looked at bidding, you know, putting the equipment, whether or not it works, I don't know, but just to keep everyone, out of any sort of question, I think in the future it would be wise to do. Any other questions or discussion on that? Okay. Public comment B, any public comment? No. Okay, so now, this meeting may, upon duly made motion, be convened in closed session under state statute 19.851E, deliberating or negotiating the purchasing of public property, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require closed session and/or for the purpose of conferring with legal counsel with respect to litigation in which it is or is likely to become involved in accordance with Wisconsin statutes 19.851G. If the town goes into closed session, it will reconvene in open session before adjourning. And the topic is the Ashland County Law Enforcement Agreement.
I'll make a motion, we go into closed session for the, Ashland County Law Enforcement Agreement.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Roll call vote, Mike Anderson.
Yes.
Jimmy Baxter.
Yes.
Susan Brown.
Yes.
John Carlson.
Yes.
John Carlson, yes. Okay, we are moving into closed session.